Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Barry Salkas, and in this channel we talk about photography and filmmaking. In this video we're going to talk about how I edit my photos. Those of you who are new to the channel, thanks for checking out the channel. Thanks for clicking the thumbnail. It's nice to have you guys here. And those of you who have been around for a long time, thank you as well. And those of you who haven't followed me on here and Instagram probably know my style in photography. I have a very desaturated, heavy contrast, urban look. Just to explain this video a little bit, with this video you are not going to be getting my exact look on my Instagram. Now there's a reason for that. If you want the exact same look on my photos, you're more than welcome to go ahead and purchase my presets. They are 25% off right now, link down on my website. But I'm not making this video to sell you guys more presets. I'm just making this video to show you guys my editing procedure. Now let's talk about the gear I use to capture my images. I use Fujifilm X-T4. I typically use a 17-55 2.8 and now a Sigma 18-35 1.8. I do use 70-200 here and there, as well as a 50mm at 1.8. Now with my Fuji X-T4 I do use Canon lenses with the Fringer Pro 2 adapter. The adapter allows me to use Canon lenses with my Fuji. So that's it for gear. Now we can go ahead and talk about the editing process. And in terms of editing, we're gonna use this photo right here. It's from downtown Toronto. I love shooting on the street. You know, this clock tower in Toronto has been shot from every angle from every photographer in Toronto, but this is just another view from the street that I am a big fan of. So in today's video we're gonna take a look at this photo and edit this photo together. Now first thing I do when it comes to editing photos, I go ahead and import my image on Lightroom, and the first thing I do is actually framing. So yes, you heard right, I do framing and not cropping right away, because if I'm shooting content for Instagram, it typically is vertical. I go ahead and make sure that the framing is correct. So if I need to center the image or something, I go ahead and frame this way. I don't necessarily crop in Lightroom. There's a reason for that. In Lightroom, I only crop horizontally so that I have a nice way to frame the image that way. That way things are more center. But when it comes to cropping, I don't really crop the image vertically, and this is only because I do want to use my images in stories. If you crop 4:5, your images are not going to fit in with the story size, and it's just going to add a little weird crop on top. I don't like seeing that. I like to be able to use my photos in stories as well, so that it's a wallpaper and stuff for people, right? Because of that, I go ahead and crop on Instagram when I'm done editing. But anyway, so first thing I do is framing, like I said. And then I go to my basic adjustments. Here I really underexpose my images. My images are super dark, heavy contrast, and I go ahead and crank down all the blacks. So cranking down blacks, it actually means increasing the blacks. So this is where I do my initial adjustments with my images. And then I scroll down and go down to my tone curve. Tone curve could be difficult to use at first, but something you need to experiment and see what you like. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this picture here. Keep this diaphragm in mind, and this is how a tone curve works. So I go ahead and play around with tone curve along with some of the other colors in tone curve, and then after that I go down to calibration. Now this area here, calibration area, is really overlooked by a lot of people. Now what the calibration area means is, as you know, there's an HSL slider on top which enables you to tweak every color. But what calibration does is, think of it like an instrument. If you guys ever played an instrument, or if you know anything about music, in order to get the right note from an instrument you need to tune. So the calibration tab is where you tune the guitar, right? You first tune it, and then if you do want to tweak, which would be hitting notes on that tune, you go ahead and use the HSL sliders after that. But first you need to calibrate, meaning you need to tune your colors. And then after you calibrate your colors, you go back to HSL sliders and go ahead and just kind of tweak up your colors from there. Again, I'm not gonna give you guys all the colors that I use on my images as they are on my presets, but this is my procedure on how I go for editing. After I mess around with the calibration and the HSL sliders, I go back to my basic adjustments again. Now I have some new colors. If I need to bring up the contrast and maybe bring down the saturation because it's a little bit too colorful, I go back and revisit the basic adjustments again. And then the next thing on my list is I often vignette my photos, but I don't vignette from the vignetting tab. Why don't I do that? Because instead of doing the vignetting, I use the Radial tool to vignette my photos. Now, why do I use the Radial tool? Because if you use the Radial tool, you can basically make more basic adjustments to that vignette. So sometimes I do want to suck out the colors of the vignetting spots, or maybe if I want more contrasted, or if I want, less highlights, I can actually use the Radial tool to make a little circle and then vignette around that. I find this working a lot better for me when I'm vignetting, and if I do need to bring attention to, a certain spot of the photo, I can go ahead and invert it and then maybe put up the exposure in that spot just to bring out some attention to the center of the image, let's say. So that's it for vignetting. What is that now, like 6 steps? Okay, so the last one on my list is, I would say this is the magical touch, adjustment brush. Adjustment brush basically enables you to give that 3D effect to your images. With adjustment brush, you can actually paint away certain sections in your photo. Let's say you're working with a portrait image, you can actually color away the models and maybe fix up their skin colors and make them stand out from the rest of the image. Or maybe if you're doing architecture photography, you can paint away certain areas of that building to really bring out more attention to that architecture, and it's just such a beautiful tool. In order to maximize this tool, I use the XP pen tablet to really paint away my images. If you guys are interested in using the adjustment brush, I really recommend on getting one of these tablets. It's a small investment, it'll be worth it, I promise you. It's a little difficult to use at first, but once you get used to it, it's really easy. But yeah, that's it. I guess that was 7 steps on how I edit. First I frame, then I do basic adjustments, then I touch up on tone curve, and then I do my calibration, and then I go back to HSL sliders and basic adjustments, and lastly I do vignetting and then adjustment brush. This is my editing, how I edit for Instagram. Like I said, I won't be able to give you guys away the color palettes that I use for calibration and HSL, as they are on my presets, but this is how I create my images on a daily basis. But anyways, if you guys did like the video, go ahead and like the video, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It really helps me stay motivated and come back with better and newer content. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.